Hey, good evening, and welcome to this edition of the next chapter. Listen, I got my two brothers. I got Ray, and I have, and we don't have a lot of time, so we're gonna jump right in. Selection today is Lecrae. I'm restored. How I lost my religion, but found my faith. Just in case people need to see it, there it is. And I'm just going to jump, guys. What was your first impression of the book? Because I got stopped at page first 5 pages, stopped me in my tracks. I had to take some time, regather myself, and then go back and read the book. So, how was your reaction? Let's start with Harvey first, since he's the newbie on the team for tonight. What's up, man?
Hey, what's going on? I thought it was better than expected. Um, I've been a Lecrae fan before most people who knew who Lecrae, you know, were before he hit the stage and took kids from church to his
Hmm.
concert in Birmingham and probably rocked out more than them. They were looking at me like I was crazy,
Right.
So
So,
but
what was
it
your
was
first impression of the book?
how intelligent he is. I mean,
That,
he's a very intelligent um, thinker. I mean, a lot of times we don't
hmm
equate that with rap, um, but I can see that in his rap, in his lyrics, in his music, um, and it also filled in the blanks of the things that I kind of would wonder about the 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 lineage or the evolution of his music. It really gave an explanation of it, but I was really thrown back of the struggles that he had, realizing that he had these struggles, and that he's a very intelligent and awoke person.
hmm Okay. What about you, Ray?
Yeah, I'm with you when it came to the first 5 pages, talking about his trauma. I really had to question myself, like,
Hmm.
do I have some trauma that I haven't dealt with? Um,
Right.
so yeah, it really made me start to think and question some things that happened in my childhood. Not to his extent, but I believe we all have something that we've dealt with that we may have just went past, swept under the rug, and just society tells you, "Oh, you a man, you gotta
Hmm.
toughen up, just get over it." But no, I think sometimes we need to look back and
Right.
say, "How has that affected my life?" Moving forward. So yeah.
Yeah.
Well, listen, this is what got me the most. It's right after he won the Grammy. It talks about it's on page one, and if you go back to page two, it says, "I was broken. No, I'm still broken. We always talk about our brokenness with a small measure of authenticity, but as though it were something far off that doesn't affect our families, our marriages, our well being. The great lie of dysfunction is that things are not that bad." And so, why do we, everyone's not willing and able or accepting of their brokenness? And if you can't even admit that you're broke, how are you having effective communication or effective relationships with your friends, with your family, girlfriends, with your, if you're a female, with your boyfriends? How are you having effective relationships? You won't even, if you don't recognize it, at least I'm broken, I'm hurt, I'm dealing with trauma that I haven't dealt with before.
Well,
Anybody
I
can
hate
go.
to say it, when it comes to relationships, most people are in relationships and both people are broken because we don't realize that trauma from years ago that we never took care of, or we thought we got past, that we repressed, but it really shows up in our life, and not being cognitive of those traumas or those multiple traumas, especially being people of color and minorities that we receive really on a micro level on a daily basis. So
Yep.
and really in being
Wow.
relationship of how that you know totality affects us every day. And also having a mate that
Hmm.
really is cognitive of that, of what are you dealing with on the day-to-day basis, and being able to accept that, you know, yes, if I love my man or I'm committing to loving this person, I need to accept those broken places and act as a conduit to help with healing.
And I just want to
Right.
piggyback off of I think as black people, we, like you said, we deal with these things every single day. And even when you think about black women, the amount of things that's on their shoulder, just as a woman, number one, and then as a black woman, that they deal with. And when you think of black women in healthcare, um, they are seen as someone that's strong, and they don't have any hurts or pains, or they can handle it. And I just think that's just something that we as black people are looked at as, we can handle it. you know oh yeah, they've been through slavery, they good, they have dogs and hoses sprayed on them, they good, they can take it. But no, we deal with a lot,
Hmm.
and we still have to go out into the world and be, a part of society. We can't just crawl up in a ball and think about our problems. It's like, no, we still got to go out and make money. We still got to be there for our family. But inside, yes, we are broken. And for Lecrae, he's a celebrity. He's performing on stage in front of thousands of people. You know, it looks good.
Hmm.
We think he's good, but no, really, he wasn't. And on page 3, he even talked about it, where he said, regardless of our popularity and professional status, we are only human. And I think that's something that we don't think about. We
Right.
think about celebrities and famous people. It's like they are just like us. They're human. Do more people know about them? Yeah.
Hmm.
Do they have a lot of money? Yeah. But at the end of the day, they cry, they get depressed, they get happy. All the emotions that we experience, they experience. You know.
And
You
I
know,
would go and argue
I
and say
I have
that
a section.
I'm sorry.
No, I just want to read the section real quick. Just to
Okay.
piggyback off what Ray said. It's on page 3, and it says part of the difficulty of being a public figure is people not recognizing our humanity. Actually, the more dangerous part of being a public figure for us was, for me, was not recognizing my own humanity. It's easy to point the finger at others, but I lost sight of myself. We are not immune to the crushing pain of our own human failings, no matter how successful we become. When the lights go off, we are forced to live with ourselves. Career achievement didn't protect Heath Ledger from money and fame, didn't insulate Robin Williams or Anthony Bourdain. It didn't protect Kate Spade or Don Cornelius. I read their stories, watch the collective trauma of their pain, and realize that there was something wrong with me. But once that's realized, why don't some people don't get help that they need to be better? I'm just going to use that word better for right now. I'm trying to find something else, but why don't they take I think that we do not value our own mental health, and some of us don't even our physical health, let alone don't talk about mental. We only value our physical health, but why is our mental health so put on the back burner?
I
I
think it
believe it's
has not been.
Anybody?
I don't think it has been on the forefront and especially in minority culture, um, we're celebrated of being that strong person. I look at women, it, they want to be that strong woman. It's like you don't have to be that strong woman. It should only be out of necessity. I'm here for you. You don't have to say, I don't need you. We need each other. You don't have to be that
Right.
superwoman. If you remember, if you really listen to the lyrics, she wasn't trying to be that superwoman. But she ended up being that
Mm-hmm.
superwoman. And I think if we be more, um, in a healthy way, interdependent on each other, not saying that you need me, but everybody needs somebody. And then I'm putting you in that trusted place, in
So
agreement
true.
that I need you to fulfill this void in my life, and being in, and like I said, in agreement with the person, because a lot of times we put people in that trusted space, and we have not verbalized that we put them in that trusted space. They have not realized it, and when they don't fulfill that role, then there's some hurt. That person's looking like, whoa, I didn't agree to that. So there has to be some communication. And this is my
Mm-hmm.
situation. I have these
Right.
fractures in my life. This is bringing on more stress to those fractures, which is breaking me. How can you help me? And if you can't help me, that's okay. But just to say, pat me on the back, as some song says, and say, baby, it's gonna be okay, is encouraging enough.
Right. That's true.
Right.
True.
Instead of being afraid that
Right.
I'm be looked
Oh,
at
I'm
as
sorry.
a weak man, because
Yep.
those weak men is the men that end up going upside a woman's head, because he has no
Right.
way of channeling those emotions. Most men
Right.
only know two
Oh.
emotions: anger and happiness. All that in between. I had daughters, teenage daughters, and when they hit that teenage, it was like, you got too many, array of emotions. I'm taught to deal with this. I'm looking for a book. I mean, you got to
Mm-hmm.
go back to your mama. I can't. We were just okay 2 minutes ago. I don't
So
understand this. We were driving from the mall. You just set me back 300, and you got an attitude now.
Right.
But
I'm not messing with
men
you, Harvey.
are not learned. We're not taught how to master those emotions. And I think the most powerful thing a man can do, well, two of the most powerful things that a man can do, is say, I was wrong and I love you. Even
Mm.
to another man.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can even throw in, I need help.
Yeah.
Yes.
I need help.
Oh,
You know,
we
but
just say
think
that.
about our people, our community, our culture. It's a hard time getting men to go to the doctor. They can have some ailments and they just push through it, and they end up going to the doctor after some time, and they find out they have this or that, and it's something that could have been taken care of, months or years ago. So even with mental health, no one wants to talk about mental health in the Black community.
No.
Now there's a
None.
push for it.
No.
There's a push for it now, but you don't want to be looked at. Oh, they're crazy. It's like, no, I'm not crazy. I'm going through. I got, you know.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, I think in the Christian
Well,
community,
since there's
we
three
don't.
saved brother, say that. Well, before you go there, I'm so glad you brought that up, Harvey. I want to listen. We're only on 7 of this book, and we're 15 minutes into this. This is going to be this was might be part 1 of 2 parts. Because let me tell you, the Christian response. I'm on page 7. The Christian response to pain is often characterized by 3 different approaches. Some Christians want to minimize pain. They try to pass over it quickly and move on to other concerns more worth their time. when people ask, "How are you doing?" but don't want to hear the real answer. "I'm depressed, actually," would stun them into silence. Christians have a disturbing habit of minimizing and making it seem less important than other concerns we should be focusing on. What you think about that, brother?
I don't think the church has addressed mental health in a healthy way. I'm gonna give you an example. Um, I'm
Okay.
divorced, and I went to my pastor as for counseling. My pastor was not versed in counseling. Period. And here
Yep.
I am in my 30s. Used to being that man's man. Having never had a problem with women because I had too many women to have a problem with. And here I am. I devote myself to one woman, and I tell this woman,
Uh-huh.
now I'm only gonna get my water from you. So the expectation is, if I'm thirsty within reason, I should only get my water from you. So when I was not getting that water,
Mhm.
it put me in not only conflict with her, but conflict with myself, because I wanted to get water outside of my marriage. And when my pastor, who is untrained, said,
Okay.
"Well, when you get as old as me, you won't want that water," I just looked at him like he was crazy. I almost quit church.
Hold on now, Pastor.
I
Oh
ain't no
wow.
dead. I got about 30 years, hopefully 30, 40 more years
I
before I'm a
just,
dead battery.
uh-huh.
I
Right,
mean,
right.
really, from my perspective, you want me to wait 40 years to be content
Right.
when I didn't sign up for a sexless marriage? It's just.
Oh
But
man.
the church needs to
I-
tap
Okay,
resources,
but
because a lot of times there's resources within
thank you.
within the church that you can tap into, who are trained, that can put together um, their technical training, their skill based training, their clinical training with Christianity.
Hmm.
And if they can't, the church should be invested in classes where that person can deliver those services in a
Right.
Christian based, safe atmosphere.
So true.
Definitely.
Pastor, I
I,
hope you don't hear this, but I love you.
again,
I
you had
ain't no
something to say,
dead
right?
battery still. That was 15 years ago. I still ain't no dead battery.
Uh, see, I
I'm
can't.
talking out my hurt. I'm talking out my hurt.
Uh-uh. You go right ahead, bro. That's what we're here for, man. You go right ahead. Go right ahead. What about Ray? Did you have something to add to that?
No, I totally agree. I don't. There are some pastors who do have the background. My grandfather, the late Dr. Ivory Daniels, um, had he went to school for counseling and things like that. Like that was his actual job.
Hmm.
Besides being a pastor of the church. So there are pastors that do have
Hmm.
that training and background, but a lot of pastors they don't. And so you'll get responses like you got, like, they
Right.
just think of something that they think is cool to say. And it's like, well, no, that didn't help me, you know. Um, so
Mm.
I do agree that if you don't have the training, it's okay. But at least say, let me look into some resources for you and let's see what we can do to help you out. You know, instead of just giving people these crazy diagnoses and
Or pray
opinions.
about it.
Or yeah,
Right.
pray about it is
Listen.
prayer
Wait.
definitely
Okay.
works,
I got.
but
Okay. Right. Prayer does work, but can we add some mental health counseling on top of that?
right,
And the reason why I asked that, the reason why I'm saying that is this, because again, on page, I'm telling you, this is going to be like 2 or 3 parts of this book, and it's only 192 pages. But on page 9, this is what got me. It says, when alcohol wouldn't work, I turned to pills. The pills were supposed to alleviate the symptoms of depression and anxiety. So here we are. We have a brother who faith, filled with the Holy Spirit, but now has turned to alcohol, um, and misusing of the prescription drugs to fulfill a void because he doesn't know how to navigate through his pain. And from a person like myself who tried to commit suicide, understanding how to navigate through pain and through your trauma or whatever you are going through is so
Mhm.
beneficial. And I didn't get any of that type of help till I was in my 30s. So again, I guess the question I have for you guys is that if, like Harvey said, his pastor didn't know what to say to the young brother, why wouldn't he say, this is the part that's killing me? And this is what opened my eyes about this part of the book. Why wouldn't he say, hey, let's go get you some real help? This is beyond my purview.
Right, right.
You understand what I'm trying to say? This is beyond
Yep,
my purview. Let's go get
yep.
you some help so we can help you navigate this. Okay, I can help
God
you
gave me
pray,
wisdom
but
to go get help from
ex-
somewhere else.
ex-
Thank God for
right.
Perry.
But
He
certain
gave
people,
me wisdom.
yes, but again, we are dealing with people who feel as if that go getting help is a weakness and that kind of thing.
Mhm.
But then if you have people who are saying stuff like, just pray, and maybe I realized something when people you go pray, I didn't know how to pray.
Right,
Right.
I would
right.
just sit and just stare. So are you at least going to show me how to pray? Or what words? I mean, these are the questions that just kept popping up over and over again. How we are just leaving young men specifically out to dry without giving them, as Harvey said, the proper tools to help them navigate through their lives.
Right.
Equipping people.
And so which leads people to go to alcohol. And then also he used the word hedonism. I don't even imagine what that means, but then if you were trying to avoid that could lead to anything, to sex, to pornography. It can lead to a whole host of things to help fill that void of the trauma that you have experienced.
Right.
Yep.
And so
Anything else?
that he said that was very profound is that you cannot sing your way out of
Mm-hmm.
suffering.
No, thank you. You can't. And I think that sometimes, no matter who you are, I think what people try to do, not only sing your way, but certain people get so involved in what their church work, they get so involved in that to not to deal with the actual issues, or they might
Right.
overcompensate with shopping, or they might overcompensate with dealing with their kids,
Right,
overprotective and all that kind of thing, instead of dealing with the trauma of their own existence.
right, right.
So I'm saying, why don't we deal with the trauma? As it, I know it's difficult, but why won't we deal with trauma?
Well, trauma
It
informed
wasn't
care
mature.
is a new frontier. I don't think it has really trickled
Okay.
down to, you know, dealing with people, not looking at a person as it was some trauma in their life, and sometimes it's childhood trauma that has changed their trajectory that gets them in front of the pastor or somebody. Pastor, I'm on drugs, I'm on crack cocaine,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
and if you're not ready to unpack that, pastors can get messed up when that person tells you all about
Right.
um, how they got there, how Deacon such and such, who's the uncle, molested them, and nobody believed them. And pastor is like this, is tight with
Right.
Deacon such and such. How do you unpack that? I mean, I don't want to see Deacon such and such go to jail. I don't want nothing. He's a good man. And if you're not ready
Mm-hmm.
for that, you can get broken yourself trying to unpack something that you're not ready for.
Right. Right.
That that you have not asked God for the wisdom, and then going out actively seeking for that wisdom and through prayer, and that's through training. I can say God blessed me with a very excellent Christian counselor who's trained at Moody's.
Mhm.
Um, the counseling did not save my marriage, but it has helped me with other people's relationship. I made sure when sat down and paid that $65 an hour, that I was going to learn. Even if it didn't save my marriage, I was going to get something out of it and pass it along to other
Mhm.
people.
Right, right.
And it has helped me tremendously. I can't call myself a counselor, but there's some things I can pass on to other people. And once I pass that on and say, hey, I learned that in counseling, I suggest that you do the same thing.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. That's so true. I want to talk about abuse since you brought it up, and I believe it's in chapter. I think I'm still in chapter 1 or 2. My childhood wounds, and it talks about um, that wasn't the only physical abuse incident I experienced. Tempers would flare, windows would break, bodies would hit the floor. More than once, I gripped the handle of the knife that sat under my bed and stared at the door, waiting for the hell to burst into my room. After my mother's boyfriend beat me, my mom separated from him for nearly a year. And in that time, I was excited for it just to be us. Anyway, we there was safety in our isolation. But then he showed up with a video game system and some weak words of apology. My mom asked me if he could come back. What was I supposed to say to that? I was a kid. A 10-year-old shouldn't. This part that a 10-year-old shouldn't make that call. Even if I didn't want it, I wanted her to be happy. I just wanted to get out. I lived on eggshells and plotted vengeance. So, why do we as adults put children in harm's way
Right.
and think
I've
that's going to be okay?
I have seen
I just
women.
want to say one thing because if it happened, I just want to add one thing. If it happened before and nothing has changed, it's going to happen again. So, to put our own children, our flesh and blood, in harm's way, it just it does something to me. I cannot imagine such of a thing. That's when I just closed the book for a day and I couldn't go back to it. Just couldn't go back to the book right then. So I closed it up for a day, then went back. Any
I've
response or
noticed.
reaction?
Uh, yeah, I've noticed, and I don't know how to. I don't know how to, because I'm still observing this. I'm still thinking about it. But women, the place that women play, that children play in a single mother's life, in contrast to when they're single and in a season of being single, and then that season that they are dating someone. For some women, when they're in that
Mm-hmm.
season of uh, being alone, they spend all their time, and sometimes in unhealthy ways, with their children. Um, I give you an example out of my life. I briefly dated somebody, and she was like, her 15-year-old son is her king. And you know what I said? I guess it ain't no space for me. I don't want to be your God.
Right.
That's not healthy. It's not spiritually healthy. But if he's your king,
Mm-hmm.
you're building adversity between me and him. And that they pour themselves into their kids so much, and then when they get in a relationship, it's that unbalance of now the kid has to look for them, and the man feel like they're jockeying between, um, you know, getting attention from mom that they're not getting anymore, and that person has come in, and that other person, and the man is looking like, oh, you just a kid, and especially if that man is not
Mm-hmm.
coming, has not been vetted as being in a place to be around the kids.
Right.
Anybody I date with kids, I don't want to be around your kids because I need to decide if I'm gonna be parked here long enough, and because I don't want to be that person that see your kid 10 years later knowing that I left your mother and I wasn't parked there long. I don't want to
Right.
be that. No, I'm cognitive
Mhm.
of that can
Wow.
cause some trauma in a person's life. So women
Right.
need to be aware
Right.
of, you need to vet and date this person, and that man needs to understand that you're going to protect these kids in a certain kind of way. Which brings
I
me
think
some women often get into relationships with men without covering. And I think that makes a big difference in
What do you mean by?
how a man responds. Having a man in their life, a male that other person know that they're accountable to, like a father or uncle. A
Okay.
lot of times women date in vacuums, and then when they go through some domestic violence, they don't want to tell anybody because they're
Hmm.
dating in a vacuum. It's a big difference when you meet a woman and you go on a couple of dates and she be like, you come by and be like, oh, this is my brother. Here's my
right.
brother.
Right.
This is my homeboy right here who got my back. And that's letting that person know that I can't do you any kind of way because then I'm accountable to you as another man. Because there's men out there that has no regard for women,
Yep.
Mm-mm.
and they would
I was
dominate a
in a,
woman
That's
if
so
they don't
true.
have a man, a perceived person in their life that would stand up for them.
I think in Lecrae's case, I think he even mentioned in the book, um, the boyfriend even mocked him and said something about his father or something like that, not having his father is not around or
Right.
something like that. So it's like you already
Hmm.
have this man dating your mother. You're put in this position to decide if if he can come back. You want to make your mom you want your mom to be happy, and you're also dealing with the fact that your own father is not there.
Right.
So it's like, as kids, you look to, because I can even say in my case, I didn't live with my mother. I didn't grow up living with my mother. And so if my dad was dating someone,
Hmm.
it was like, oh, she can fill that void of my mother not being here right now. And so here you got this boyfriend in the house. You look to him, he's a man. My dad's not here. Maybe he can fill that void. But instead of that, you get beat by this man, you
Right.
know? So
Mm.
bam, you got that trauma there. Then he comes back and try to buy your acceptance with a video game. And it's like at 10 years old, your mind is already your brain is not developed, to handle these things, you know, and it just puts you in an awkward space. And
Wow.
mom never went to him and said, hey, what can we do to help you out? I know you went through this, and I know he beat you up. It's
Hmm.
like, no, a year goes by and it's like, oh, he's coming back into the picture. You know, never dealing with the fact that this man just beat him a year ago. So it's hard. That's hard.
And the boyfriend probably
I want.
received that
Oh, go
trauma
ahead.
in his life, and he thought that was teaching him how to be a man.
Right. Right.
Exactly. So now what we have is generational dysfunction. I talked about this earlier. What we now have is generational dysfunction. Now, on top of trauma, on top of molestation, on top of abuse, how is it possible for someone to become whole individual? Their first 10 years of life is just this all the time without God and without mental health counseling. Because his story
Right.
is not unique. His story is happening right now.
Absolutely.
And particularly, I don't know if you've read any information about because the young people who have been in COVID, Up, suicide is up. So this
Yep.
story is even relevant right now because of the circumstances that we're living in right now.
Right.
Right.
You think
I
the
know I
most,
got to keep going.
okay.
Next week, say it again.
No, go ahead.
I didn't hear you.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, I want to talk about church hurt. Church hurt is the worst. I'm going to go back to chapter 2, but I got to go to chapter 3 real quick before we go. We only have church hurt is the worst hurt. Um, I'm Go right ahead. Talk about. I have a few words for that, but I want to hear your opinions about that first, please. Anybody?
Yeah.
Church hurt
I have
is the
something.
worst part. Women
I
in
have
like I don't
something
know
to say.
what.
So
Okay.
when it comes to church hurt, the one thing that bothers me a lot when it comes to people saying that they've had church hurt is that it seems
Mm-hmm.
like oftentimes God is to blame for that church hurt, as opposed to
Okay.
the human beings that's causing the hurt. And it's like churches just grouped together as the church hurt me, when it could be just that particular church or members in that church who cause the hurt, because not every single church is out to hurt people. Not every church is dysfunctional or gossipy, or people are sleeping around.
Mm-hmm.
It's not every single church, but too often you hear that it's like, oh, the church hurt me, I'm never going back to church. And it's like, no, maybe that church is not living up to its biblical standards, you know. So yeah, that's just my take on.
Uh, how
Often
about
church
this?
hurt
The thing
happens
is this:
without the
the
pastor even
building.
or higher up in leadership knowing about it.
Okay. I,
Um,
I just have a problem with the word Harvey. I just have a problem with the
what
phrasing church hurt because I want to know did the actual building hurt you or did people hurt you? Because the
those
church
are
is
people in
actually
church, the
us,
body.
the individuals. Okay, so here we get. Why do we always say the church hurt? How about we say if Harvey hurt me? How about Harvey hurt me? Instead of saying the church hurt me. How about we put a name on that bad boy?
Right.
Instead of saying the church, because
And
when you
and,
say the church, it means
and
the entire church hurt me. How Ray tried to dog me, and so let's have a conversation between me and Ray, and stop saying the church did it.
because often
That's
there's
that's how I feel about
people
that.
that are complicit with it. There's people who's part of the church who watched it and they are complicit with it. And
That's
sometimes you
true.
even get people that band together. I've seen situations where um somebody of auxiliary, they get a good idea, but they know pastor is not with it, pastor. But they kind of, and the person that said no, pastor, they hurt that person, disenfranchise that person to push their own agenda and then glaze it over to the
Mm-hmm.
pastor as and give it to the pastor as dress it up as something else because
Right.
they know the pastor is not going to
Right.
be front and center there while it goes down. And that's why people say the church because it's usually more than one person that's
That's
involved
true.
with the hurt. You get that one dominant person that nobody don't want to cross
Right.
that got the pastor blinded
Yep.
and she
Yep.
just hurting it. He or she just hurting everybody,
Uh-huh.
just cutting people up.
But then it becomes every single church is bad, or you know,
I,
I'm not going back to church because church hurt me.
that's what I'm trying to get to. Right. That's what I'm trying to get to. And I mean,
Or like I said,
I know we got to go like in a minute because our uh-huh.
or like I said,
Go
or
right
it's
ahead.
God. They blame God. You know, God is to blame because just some bad humans hurt you. You know.
Hmm. So
But you
listen,
have
this
to
is what I'm
look
going
at
to do
people in
because
the
I only have a
church
few
are
minutes left
broken.
in this segment.
Okay.
That's the part I want to listen. I got to talk about that, but our time is almost up, and I want to, if we can allow, we'll post it on our brother page. The continuation conversation, and I think we need to have that conversation because again, broken people are hurting broken people. So hurt people. And
Right.
so if you have, so are we actually dealing with people's hurt, or are we just glossing their hurt to get for people for I'm trying to be nice because I want them to fill our churches with the attendance. So are we actually dealing with people and their trauma and their hurt, or are we just want people in those pews? And that note, we're
Right.
going to end it. Listen, keep in touch. Look at our Facebook page. We will be back for the continuation of this conversation. We love you. Thank you. Until next time, God bless.